What's up guys, Daxter here, and how often do you think I get to say that a game these days will be enjoyed by everyone? With all the shooters out there, that just brings rage to today's youth.
Don't stop, cap them and shank them.
All the MMOs that are designed to do nothing but deliberately suck up a ton of your time. And let's not forget the games out there with far too much blood in them. I'm looking at you, every single zombie game on the damn planet. It's a very rare thing that I am able to say that a game can really be enjoyed by everyone of all audiences. Young, old, girl, boy, it doesn't matter. This one is for everyone. And what's even more amazing is the fact that this is actually good. Sounds impossible, doesn't it? A game for all ages that's actually worth your time. Ladies and gentlemen, we have found what could possibly be the mythical white whale of indie games for 2014. And that whale is called The Last Tinker: City of Colors. The Last Tinker is an action-adventure title where you play a silent protagonist by the name of Koru, and his sidekick, Tap. Koru doesn't do any communicating other than shrugging his shoulders and smiling. Which is why Tap does all the talking for him. And by talking, I basically mean these pop-out text boxes. There isn't much of the way of voiceovers here, so be ready to read. A lot. Oh, and calling Tap a psychic really doesn't do him justice. Don't get me wrong, that's pretty much what he is, but he's more like if Koru's brain left his body, turned green, grew eyes and limbs, and started floating around all while leaving confetti everywhere. Why do I feel the need to say this? Because Tap knows exactly what Koru's thinking all the damn time. It's a little weird. It's almost like Tap is the brains of the operation and Koru just goes around punching everything Tap tells him to. Tap isn't really put into the spotlight, but Koru just seems to do everything Tap says, even feel a certain way about something. I'm probably reading too much into this, and when it's all said and done, the bond that they share just made me like Koru and Tap even more. Tap is useless without Koru, and Koru seems like he's useless without Tap. And for storytelling purposes, the bond that they have really does work. Koru does all the heavy lifting, and Tap guides you on your journey and communicates so that you know what you're supposed to do next. Ultimately, Tap is there to help you the player understand what's going on, and Koru's sole purpose is to punch things. And it's not like there's a shortage of things to punch. The City of Color gets covered in this white stuff. Get your mind out of the gutter, guys. This stuff is called the bleakness. It shoots from that thing. I can't win here, can I? Anyway, this is the main thing that you're up against, and remains a constant threat throughout the entire game. The moment I started playing, I was surprised as how smooth the controls are. It didn't feel like an indie game. It felt like a lot of love and attention went into getting the movement just right. I immediately had flashbacks of old school Spyro the Dragon games just to give you an idea of how this feels. The movement is only made whole when you get into combat, which actually plays like modern day Batman. Koru zips around, punching things in the face and making acrobatic finishes that explode into color. But you want to know my favorite part of combat? You don't have to punch everything to kill it. The abilities of the different colors that you get allow for very creative ways of killing things. Later in the game, punching was normally the last resort, or if I thought that punching it to death was faster than using the environment. The only issue I had with movement and combat is that the game tries to play for you sometimes. When doing the free running, I felt like I didn't have much control over my character, and the game chose where I went. Unless I was making a decision at a fork or making a harsh turn, I just held forward and the game ran for me. Granted, it's actually pretty cool watching Koru jump around like he was born to do this, but the lack of control felt really weird at first until I got used to this fact. But what I didn't get used to was when the game sometimes chose the wrong target in combat. Now, don't get me wrong here, this would be a minor issue if you're playing on any other difficulty other than the highest, which is what I played on. The top difficulty asked for nothing less than perfection, as one wrong move meant instant death. I will say that the smooth controls and combat made for a very riveting combat experience, as I knew that I was in full control here and most deaths were due to my own failure. But you can imagine how frustrating it is to die due to no fault of your own because the game picked the guy with the reflective shield to hit. This isn't something I died to constantly, but it did happen more than a few times, and it is something I wish I didn't have to worry about in a game with an instant death mode. One thing you need to know about the challenge here, like I said, I played on the hardest difficulty. Does that mean that this game was easy for me? Hell no! The game was whooping my ass. I died a ton. But the takeaway from this is that it all felt fair. When I died, I knew I messed up, and I ran back into every fight with the sole desire to whoop some ass. The good news here is that the checkpoint system is very forgiving, and once you defeat a pack of enemies, they do not respawn. So even in the hardest of times, you know you can push forward if you try hard enough. For the older, more experienced gaming crowd, the challenge is definitely here if you want it. Another thing I feel I have to warn you about is the camera, which is way too close to the character. This creates a narrow field of view that I feel will make some people nauseous. You spend most of your time looking just above the character's head. This wasn't an issue for me because I don't get nauseous that easily, but I know some people say hell no to a game with no FOV controls, and this is something that I believe you need to know. Now, one would think that a game with the word color in its name, the devs would have spent at least 50% of their effort to ensure that the art is top-notch. But the art is for the most part okay. The art serves a purpose more than anything else, and while it does serve that purpose very well, sometimes the colors just have a washed-out look to them. I feel like you weren't meant to pay attention to the environment at some points, as the colors just never pop out like you would expect. However, this is not an issue because of the color palette itself, it's because of the lighting. Whoever is their shading and lighting artist just needs to be slapped, as their poor choice of ambient flat lighting throughout most of the game just flattens everything. In their credit, however, they didn't mess up all the time though. There are moments where the stars align and everything looks gorgeous, like this scene in particular, which took my breath away. This is just a beautiful mix of light and color. Let this be a message to any aspiring 3D artists out there. Lighting matters a lot. But you know what is a redeeming factor to this game's art? The great soundtrack that sucks you in. Almost every level has a different soundtrack and every one of them is quality. With a game that's supposed to be centered around color, I found myself enjoying the soundtrack a lot more than the visuals. The story of this game isn't anything massively unique, it does a good job of being unpredictable within reason, and it kept moving forward. I never felt that I knew what was coming, and the times that I did, I was either completely wrong or the game threw some sort of twist just to see if you're paying attention. On top of that, the gameplay never gets dull because of the creativity in the game mechanics. Other than combat and running around, things are always changing, and every zone has a different idea behind what you need to do. One zone has a pretty well done stealth section, while another has a great musical section. Let me clarify something though. This game is by far not a stealth game or a DDR ripoff. This is an adventure game, and every different mechanic is used just enough for you to enjoy it and wonder what will come next. This is one of those games that hooks you at the start with its creativity, but you wonder if it's going to be able to keep up the creative flow. Most games like this try to hook you at the start, but midway through you can tell that the creative juices ran dry. However, this does not apply to The Last Tinker. From start to finish, I was guessing and never bored. When it's all said and done and the city is saved, this was an enjoyable experience that I wished all games would learn from. I would highly recommend this game for anyone of any age that doesn't mind letting their inner child come out to play. I'm pretty much talking to you, bronies. You guys would definitely enjoy this one. I know I did. Alright guys, that's it for me. My name's Daxter with the Overshield.com. Hope you guys enjoyed the review and have a good one. Peace!